No one goes on, but what we leave behind leaves us alive for something else. Adam Silvera. Bending Not Breaking. The Legend of Korra, Book 1, Episode 9, Out of the Past. Welcome back to another episode of Bending Not Breaking, the meaning-making podcast with me, Ben Pruitt, and your other hosts are here too, most of them. Say hi, Patreon hosts.
Hi.
There we go. Last time we sat with When Extremes Meet and explored intimidation, the way power can be used to pressure and silence and control. And we watched TLOK tighten his grip on Republic City, using everything from public policy to private manipulation, until intimidation finally revealed its most extreme form. Because the episode was called When Extremes Meet. Anyway. So today we're going to Out of the Past today. And, this is where history refuses to stay buried and long held secrets surface and oh my goodness, what's going on? Visions. And so today we are going to be exploring the episode through legacy, what we inherit from those who came before us, what gets passed down across generations, whether we're destined to repeat history or whether we will write a new history. And today, Earth is our element. This is Bending, Not Breaking. Da-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na.
This cannot be our new theme song.
What do you mean?
That's just it's fine, I guess.
It's just the perfect transition.
Is it? Is it perfect?
I mean, that little musical part is.
I think we need some more. We need some more musical tags to throw into the mix.
Well, I invite you all
start
to
brainstorming.
Yeah, I invite you all to bring one next time. So I mean, I feel like legacy is pretty on the nose here. There's a lot of different ways in which it shows up. Um, but let's just talk about generally, make sure we're on the same page. When I say legacy, do you hear the same thing that I'm talking about? So we're using Merriam-Webster as our centralized version of it today, anyway. So something such as personal property or money that is willed to someone by a person who has died is a form of legacy. Something transmitted or received by an ancestor or predecessor from the past. Wink, wink, hint, hint. That was in the episode. A candidate for membership in an organization who is given special status because of familial relationship to a member, of or relating to a previous or outdated computer system. That one's definitely going to show up today. And then of or relating to, associated with, or carried over from an earlier time, technology, business, etc. Thoughts on legacy? Is that what you thought of?
Yeah, I guess so. I like the something transmitted or received from an ancestor. Like the ideas. There's many things that can be transmitted and many ways of transmission.
Yeah, transmission is the operant word there, where it's like, okay, if we are flexible with that, all of a sudden we have a whole lot of legacy to explore.
Mm.
Definitely.
Wow. Well, I was thinking of Lin-Manuel Miranda and his legacy. Legacy. What is legacy? Planting a seed in a garden that you never get to see. Yeah. So you had Miriam, I had Manuel. So there's that.
Well, that's good because Kelly has the 30-second recap today. So, Kelly.
No.
It is your turn.
That is so incorrect. It's not even funny. It's definitely your turn. Your turn, Ben, since it's your lens.
No. I don't think you understand. I'm in charge, so I get to make you do it.
Oh, no, this is
Actually, I can take the power back from you, just saying.
Okay, this is true. Maggie is in control of the
cannot get out of
recording
this.
of all of it. All right, count me down.
3, 2, 1, go.
So Korra's in a middle box because TLOK is a jerk meanie face, and TLOK is a lying jerk face also because he's like, oh my god, the Equalists took Korra, and then Lin and Team Avatar are tricked into infiltrating Equalists' quarters, and then Korra's not there because she's in a middle box in the Mounties, and then she got Aang sending visions of Daddy Yakone, and then TLOK makes an uh-oh and is caught lying and bloodbending and escapes to the Mounties and finds Amon who takes
10
his
seconds.
bending, and then Korra escapes after being underestimated, and then Mako's a lovey-dovey boy, and Asami's sad, and that's the end.
3, 2. Wow.
You ended early.
Oh my god, that never happens.
Who are you?
Who
I
even
don't
is he?
know. It's probably because I left something important out. But that's okay because we can't cover it all in 30 seconds. That's the kind of the point.
It's a recap.
It's
not-
just a recap.
I mean, hopefully
Yeah.
our viewers would watch the episode.
We're just putting a hat on it again.
No.
Getting it? Get it? Because it's yeah. Okay. All right. So, what is a moment of legacy that one of you would like to explore first?
Well, why don't you share how you picked legacy as your lens?
Well,
He said it was obvious. Well, that's what
I
he
mean,
said.
I do feel like it's obvious. I mean, it was literally in the definition, transmitted by like past or ancestors. And so here we go. Korra's sitting in a metal box getting visions from Aang. This feels like some kind of legacy.
The
Um,
Avatar, a legacy?
the what? Um, so I am intrigued by this moment of legacy because Korra is like, I'm trapped and I'm in a metal box. How do I get out? And so she goes looking for information to get out of a metal box. And that is not what Aang is giving her. Aang is giving her something else. And it has nothing to do with getting out of this metal box. And so I feel like that often happens when we are looking to the past for answers. When we go looking for a specific answer, and all of a sudden we have to be very open to what we're going to hear because it's not exactly what we went looking for. Um, so, like, it's interesting. I find that
That is
to
interesting.
be scary, right? I need help with now, right? But nah, that's not what I'm trying to give you. I'm trying to give you something that's going to help you long term. Thoughts?
I feel like that's kind of apt, not just in this episode, but in life or even in like policy making. A lot of times we look to the past to give us answers for how we should deal with future problems, but I think it's like folly to be looking for a direct answer in the past. The past can give us context, can give us like inspiration for how to solve new problems. It can give us information that maybe previously was like missed or untouched, but it can't give us the exact ingredients that we need to solve a current or future problem, I think.
I mean, it's the same thing when Aang goes and talks to like his experience is different because he actually gets to like converse with his past selves and has conversation. But even then, Kyoshi's like, when this happened, this is what I did, and that's not what you want to hear. But right, it's very much a we're going to give you this information regardless of what you're looking for.
Mm. And you ultimately, the person living in the present has to decide what to do with that information.
I think that's pretty important,
Mm.
right? It's important.
I feel like Aang's like spirit maybe just has been trying to like not that he would not help her get out of the box, but he's been trying to communicate this one very important detail. I feel like maybe for so long that he's like, now that I've got you here, I realize this is not what you came for, but however, we need you to get this first. You can get
Well,
out of
it's
the box yourself.
interesting,
You're
right?
fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's also one of the things I find neat about this moment too is it's Korra's experience of these is not necessarily through Aang's eyes, right? And maybe that's just the storytelling convention. But what we see is the event unfold, right? And we see certain aspects of it, and we see a zoom in on Sokka's face. We see a zoom in on Yakon's face. We don't see from Aang's eyes. And it's not as if she's like studying history, but it feels like it's like happening in the moment. And so it's not like a story she's being told, but something that she gets to like inhabit and be present for almost. And so it feels different from like reading this in a history book. It feels emotional and embodied and personal. So I'm curious about that also. Um, in terms of, is this an abnormal, unique to the Avatar experience, or is this something that we feel like we also experience as well?
Mhm.
Mm.
I mean, I think it would be really cool if our ancestors were like, hey, here's these like visions from the past. Wow, that sounds like a Disney song, Visions from the Past. Anyway, like where you get to like see these pivotal moments, even if you don't understand,
Mhm.
right? Because at this point, Korra still has yet to see the full picture, and we know that these little like I want to say flashbacks, but they're not flashbacks because they're not Korra's flashbacks. They're even though she is the Avatar, they are the Avatar's flashback. But with Aang, like it was different when he experienced
Mhm.
memories as Avatar because he saw it more through the eyes of the previous Avatar too, and he kind of knew what was happening because he had spoken to the Avatar before, right? So then they kind of do the thing where they're like, here is my wisdom for you or whatever, and then they kind of are
Yeah.
like, look at what I did here, like live in my moment for a moment, or like, you know, things like
Yeah.
that.
I wonder if this is an intentional choice on Aang's part, right? Is this something where Aang is choosing not to communicate via speech because Korra needs to see it for herself? Does he know that about her, that like just telling her won't have the same impact? Or is this a factor that represents Korra's distance from her own spiritual connection to past avatars? And it could be a mixture of both. It could be one or the other, but I'm curious if there's a theory for either of you as to why this is different than we experience in Atla.
Yeah, it's hard to say what is like having the physical embodiment of the previous avatar speaking to you directly, like more like higher echelon spirit work versus like getting a vision directly from the prior avatar's memories as but not from his perspective, but as the like it's hard to say like which of these is like more connected, but I do feel like there must be some like instinctual like communication or something where maybe words aren't needed, just sharing like just sharing thoughts and memories. And it could even be like if our mind is like a place where we can create things, it's Aang creating this scene for Korra to intake.
Yeah, my theory is that this is an intentional choice on Aang's part. Um, Mostly because at the end of this season we see the reverse, right? We see direct speech, and that to me also feels intentional. So
Mm.
my theory is that Aang has made this choice for some reason. Um, but I have nothing to back that up. So that's just my instinct telling me that.
I like that. I was thinking a little bit on, I suppose, like in between both of you and your viewpoints of how maybe because we know that the air nomads spend a lot of time on spirituality and like so Ed
Hmm.
was trained on that even before he was told he was the Avatar, right? Because of their daily practices and their lifestyle and the way that they meditate and do things. So even before he knew he was the Avatar, there was already this spiritual connection that the monks were trying to share with the younger generation, right? And then we see that with oh my gosh, why can't I? Is it just the guru? Does the guru have a name?
Guru Patik?
Yes, thank you. Where our onion banana water man,
Bleh.
yeah, goes or onion banana juice, but anyway, like
Yeah.
that he helps him after Aang loses it, right? To like reconnect with his specifically the avatar state, and thinking a little bit on Korra's end, how she's so like um emotional is not the word I want to use, but just like she's so passionate and ready to do things in the now and less thought, like she doesn't think about things as much, right?
Mm.
She's so action oriented
Yeah,
and like
it feels like she's embodied, right? There's a very big
yes,
difference, I think, right? Like there's a very spiritually ethereal, like out of body experience. The Aang's jumping out of his body all the time, whereas Korra is so located in her body.
yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
So I think because of I'm assuming that the avatar. Well, and this is the thing that we don't really know in canon or lore is like how much do the previous avatars understand about the current avatar, right? Like, oh, let's go into that. Like, I would love a book that or a show or like a book honestly would be great, right? Where they kind of or a comic, right? Where we kind of see like what the previous avatars like how they choose to interact with the current avatar or how much they understand about what's going on because I agree with you, Ben, that I think it was very intentional on Aang's part, but I also wonder if he maybe tried to make the more like spiritual connection before. And it isn't until Korra is in this completely vulnerable position
mhm.
that we see at the end, which like spoilers, but like also hopefully everybody's watched it. I won't talk about it that much because I'm sure we'll talk about it in that episode. But maybe that's the first time that her walls are basically down enough that he's able to actually directly communicate and speak to Korra versus he has tried that earlier and it hasn't gone through her barrier. So he's been sending these dream like visions to be like, I'm trying to communicate with you and I'm going to meet you where you are in this moment, which
Mm.
is such a good mentorship thing, right? Instead of being like, this is where I want you to be. Okay, this is where you're at. How can I help you? And
Yeah.
because she's so in her body, like, what a great way for her to understand what's happening than to physically take her out of the space she's in, but then physically put her in there, right? Like, she feels like her body is experiencing what's going on, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
then she can like maybe connect to it more and start to put the pieces together, right? Because we see a couple episodes previous, she's had a couple of these visions before and just really doesn't understand what's happening.
Yeah, well, usually what happens is they happen to her, and this is
Mm-hmm.
the first time where she's intentionally
Yeah.
tried and it has worked.
Yes.
Um,
Mm.
which is new,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, yeah, there's a lot there in terms of I think all of this, and it's not just Korra here, but we also see like this legacy of like we've been talking about Aang too, right? Through these flashbacks, Aang and the gang, right, were shaping Republic City and forming it and creating it. And Sokka was on the city council. And this is kind of showing us that their creation of it and their workings through it they were doing their best to create something that was much bigger than they were,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, all of them. And it was built by the gang. And yet, this city still struggles with all of these things. inequality,
Mm-hmm.
resentment, conflict, all of the things that we've been talking about this whole season. And it seems like the episode pushes back against the idea that a good foundation, right, where good intentions guarantees a good future, where this idea of legacy, even though it has all of the intent there, there's more necessary in order to make something become more than intention. Um,
Mm.
so I guess I'm curious about that, right? Where, um, what does that mean that Aang, who we know is a little good boy, right?
Yes.
And Sokka and Toph and Katara and all these people were putting their best efforts into making it good, and it still sucks, right? So it's cool, it's neat, it's growing, it has potential, but it's got some flaws. Um, Thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like this kind of at the start, like Korra positions them as opposites, right? And also unequal. Like you'll never be half the Avatar he was. He did all this good stuff, blah, 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 blah. He was so great. He never made any mistakes, yada, yada, yada. But this episode shines light on the fact that not necessarily that he did anything wrong, but that stuff happens even to quote unquote good people. Stuff happens to people who act in good faith, right? There's still like you can't create this perfect world. And I feel like I don't think necessarily it's like a revelation for Korra to be like, oh, so stuff did happen and it wasn't like anyone's fault or like nobody's, like it wasn't like he quote unquote let that happen. Because I feel like a lot of times people be like, Korra, you let that happen or like that wouldn't have happened if you had just done this. But it
Yeah.
has this, it creates at least a realization maybe in the viewer, maybe not in her, but in the viewer that even though Aang was there, like personally working on Yakon's case, he was like trying to make justice happen and it worked even though that shady lawyer, right? But then it still wasn't enough. And we don't get to really see necessarily the aftermath of that yet, but yeah, I think it's an important like moment for the viewer to be like, "Oh, this is not just Korra's problem."
Yeah, I guess part of me is like Aang's legacy is one could paint a picture of like Aang started Republic City and Aang solved the problem of a 100 years war and did all of these things, and the world was such a better place back when Aang was around, and I wish we could make Republic City great again. And that's like you kind of like
Yeah.
this is kind of the rhetoric of what I'm saying is
Yeah.
the legacy that we are handed down is inherently can be painted in a romantic light,
Mm.
but intention alone is not enough. It requires the work and effort of the present to continue to live into something, and we can't rest on the laurels of what has been given to us eh, via passed down, right? We have to continue to improve it and make it better rather than letting it just simply be. And that's kind of what I'm kind of thinking about here is that to the idea that, oh, well, it was so much easier back then is missing something.
Mm.
Um, and so this is kind of illustrating that point for me.
Yeah.
Mm. I think too, given that obviously the show takes place in a new era, there's some grace for people that are dead, some grace for people that are dead and gone, and like quote unquote maintaining their legacy. I feel like kind of takes like not that it like necessarily glosses over everything, but takes some of the realness away from everything that they did, good and bad.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was a moment with Lynn actually that I found really interesting. It was such a quick moment. Like when she wakes up and hears that Cora's been taken and dons her metal armor, and she looks down and sees the badge on her chest, and a flash of like, ew, like disgust crosses her
Mhm.
face. That's how I interpreted it. Of like, "Ugh," and she grabs the and takes it off. And that could easily be interpreted as a whole lot of things, but I interpreted it as disgust while watching through a lens of legacy because I was like, man, here she is breaking rules again, right, in this season, right, where she is going against the police again. And I just think about the legacy her mom left her and thinking about how, like, it's time to break some rules is simultaneously Toph, but also Toph's desire to create order that was what I have to believe from a generous position to create order from a place of like justice is important, right? And believing in that and reckoning with the fact that justice being important doesn't mean that the police are important. It means doing justice. And I think that Lynn is seeing and taking that badge off and saying, like, this is what it means to say ACAB, folks. Um, and so I'm just like loving that moment. And that was a moment that crossed my mind,
Mhm.
thinking about that too.
Oh, yeah, that is a good moment. She's so badass in this episode. It's like not even funny.
Yeah, she's like central to this episode.
Like,
Yeah.
and the other thing is like, yeah, she's like ACAB, but she's not like going to the police and being like, "You're not doing your job." She's like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna go do your job. I'm going to do it. I'm going to work right now." Like
yeah,
she's a woman of action. I just love it.
yeah.
And she's so powerful. I'm like, what the fuck? You could just have a show about her.
Yes.
She's, I mean, gotta be, I mean, she's just so great.
I got to admit, I have been sleeping on Lynn. Like this is, I had a like not an epiphany, but I had like a, oh shit, damn. Like I like her a lot more than I think I used to, especially from this episode.
Yeah.
Hmm. And she uses so many different types of like bending and like bending techniques in this episode. I was like, what can't she do? What can't she do? She could, I mean,
She can't lava
surprised
bend.
that they haven't gone to space with everything that she can do.
Yeah, no, she's super badass.
Mhm.
Um, anything else about the Angkora situation before I want to, we got a lot of info dump about this whole little family we got going on here. So I want to touch
Mm,
in on them.
yeah, we should.
Okay, so Yukon is a terrible human being and also wildly powerful. Uh, like
Yeah.
that whole courtroom
Ugh,
was
literally, that was
like
everybody.
it was everyone, and it was like I'm gonna knock everyone out, including the Avatar. And I like I forget again how like wild this is. Because it's one thing to have enough to like control one person with
Hmm.
the full moon. We got no full moon and full control of an entire room of at least 20-ish people. Like it looked like there were maybe even 30 people in that room,
Yeah.
and they all got knocked out. So I think what we get here is Cora is what we're learning facing a enemy that had nothing to do with her, right? She is facing the legacy of someone that they theoretically dealt with uh what, 60 years ago. Aang was 40
Hmm.
at the time, right? I'm 40, Toph.
Yeah.
um like that was Core's what, 16, 17 in this, so that's literally he died when he was like 66. So yeah, like 40 years ago. Um, and she's having to deal with this. And I guess I'm curious about that, right? Like what is going on here that this episode is kind of giving us a much longer view of this whole season, specifically honing in on Tarlock. Next episode, I'm on. But what does illustrating this problem as something that started so long ago do for our understanding of and treatment of this core group of people?
Mm.
That's a great
Because
question.
for me, oftentimes context like this makes me more forgiving and more empathetic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we know more, we do better. And so I guess I'm just like thinking about how context and information and understanding our past helps us understand and makes us more forgiving. That's my thought.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Well,
One.
I'm trying to. Oh, go ahead.
Go.
Okay. Okay.
Meg
Well,
says nope.
I'm trying to piece together. I feel like maybe I just don't remember if it's explained later, but if Yukon is, I guess the like legacy from Yukon to Tarlock and how it feels like Aang never solved that problem, right? Feels like it's a continuing problem, but it's like, how can you expect that somebody's son is just going to be like, you know what? Let's just do it all again. Let's just do a take two on this one because it's like, I mean, maybe I don't remember, but it's not like Tarlock had assets to begin with, right? Like, he also had to start from not like I don't know. It's not like it's a generation. Sorry, what am I trying to say here? What am I
I
fucking
don't
trying to
know.
say? It's not like Tarlac was like a legacy like college student. It's like well, my dad went here, so I go here. It wasn't like that, right? It was a hidden secret. So it's like just interesting that kind of from our mindset, it's like, oh, like well, Aang never really like took care of that. So obviously the problem's recurring because like it never really was like resolved in the first place. But it's like, well, it was for all intents and purposes because it's not like Tarlock was able to just like start at an already like leg up, unless I'm missing something that I just don't remember. But that's what I'm trying to say. Wow, that was like a really roundabout way.
Well, I think what we get in this episode doesn't answer that question, but what we
Mm-hmm.
get next episode, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's next episode.
Does it get answered?
Uh,
Yeah.
well, Yukon escapes without his bending
Oh, right.
and gets to marry someone and has two kids, right? And starts training them off in the wilderness away from mommy.
Forgot about
Um,
that. But they don't have
right?
buku bucks. It's not like they're like,
It's not about money, right?
yeah.
But I think we hear Tarlock in this episode say, I was going to be different. I was going to
Mm-hmm.
save the city. And to me, that's still responding to the legacy,
Yeah,
right? That's
absolutely.
responding to the lesson that he was taught. And, it's his influence, Yakon's influence is present, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt. And it's interesting, right? Because what is being left behind, right, is more than, and we've talked about, I think this is this is kind of a duh statement, but like it's not about passing like an inheritance of like items. It's
Mm-hmm.
passing, reputation. It's passing uh information, it's passing fear, it's passing expectation, right? There's an
Mm-hmm.
expectation from Yukon onto his children, right? There's a passing of wounds and ways
Yeah.
of viewing the world and how to interpret information. And these people did wrong to me, so we're going to get them back is the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I'm reminded of like epigenetics here, where like I asked the question earlier about like, is how we experience legacy embodied? And I think the answer is yes, right? The story of mice being shocked with cherry blossom smells, and then 2 generations later, the fear receptors still go off with cherry blossom smells and the
Mhm.
mice's children. That happens. That is predictable now in
Mhm.
human beings. The epigenetic code is visible, right? And so it's one of those things where like I feel like we often get sent messages and our body is responding to things and we're like, I don't like how I'm responding to this. Why would my
Mhm.
past do this to me? And because it's trying to tell us something and we don't listen. And what if we listened, right? What if we were able to listen better? And this is my TED talk. Thank you.
Listen better, but it's like some things that are in our bodies, I'm like, we should not listen to that. That is not good.
Yeah, my
That
smoke
is a
alarm's
bad
going
one.
off. Why is it going off, right?
I mean, yes, asking a why, but sometimes at least like I feel like my body's like, hey, you should like freak out right now. Like your whole life is about to like you like shit's about to get fucked. And I'm like, whoa, no, body, that's not the case. Like, let's chill out. So I feel like
Yeah.
Tarlock's like playbook for like how the world works and how to get around in the world is like effed up playbook. So then even though he's like, I'm gonna be different,
Well, it's
everything that he
interesting.
knows about the world, I feel like only tells him how to do things not in the great way.
Well, it's impossible to separate Tarlock here from Amon, right? Because we see very much the same legacy being handed down. And the idea of them choosing separate paths, right, is very poignant because it illustrates choice. It introduces choice to the mix. So the question becomes how much responsibility do we have for the legacies we receive, right? For the ones that are handed to us, like how much responsibility does Korra have, right? Kind of a more complex question as the avatar, right? Because there's a literal like spiritual component in that that is different than perhaps the average Joe. But I think we see people making choices based off of the legacy they inherit. And when parents and or other ancestral people pass us things, right, we have a way of repeating history. And yet we also have a way to break cycles. And so I'm curious, right, where and how do we do better when we're handed down things? How do we make different choices, better choices?
Self-awareness, maybe.
This is part of the premise of the podcast. We believe in awareness.
I
Well,
think
I don't know if Tarlock and Amon believe in self-awareness.
that's so true. Well, yeah, I was thinking about how, like, on a zoomed out perspective, like world conflicts and things that we're seeing right now
Hmm.
are like stem back hundreds, if not thousands of years when you break it down of one tribe and one group said this is our area and the other group said no this is our area and then there's been conflict after war and so much of that like hatred and prejudice and racism and land grabbiness is because each side basically said we're in the right and you're in the wrong, but then they've also been like thinking about how we saw in I think it had to be season 3 where Aang is in right the Fire Nation school and he
Yeah.
like all of a sudden learns about how they've been taught, right? Because the winners of a conflict are the ones that write the history, right? It's
Episode
not
3 or episode season 3, episode 2, the headband.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ben. And thinking about how the quote unquote losers don't get to write their history, right? So then it's those that have beaten the other side and then continue to perpetuate this is what happened. And even if they didn't necessarily fully win, even if they lost, then this type of learning gets passed down and passed down of we were wronged, and then therefore we're going to spend generations teaching that we were wronged and we are angry, and we're not going to view the other side as human. They're inhuman, and they're basically like their lives are not worthy. Like it doesn't matter if we bomb them because they're like their lives don't matter.
Yeah, who cares if we burn an entire civilization alive? It's fine.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the great work that we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, rough. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think we just see a pretty consistent message in this episode where nearly every character has something that has been given to them, right? Legacy that has been touched on in this season, if not this episode, whether that be some sort of history, some sort of trauma, responsibility, expectations, and our lives are shaped by things that we don't choose. So that invites us into this space where we are metaphorically dealt a hand of cards, and the best thing we can do is play the hand we've got. And how do you play the hand you have while also not living into a harmful problem? And I think it's a yes and, right? I think some people are capable of it. Some people don't know how, right? And I think it becomes an ability issue rather than a motivation issue. Um, I don't think Tarlok had the tools. He thought he was doing good, right? I genuinely believe that as much of a schmuck as he is, that he was doing those things out of a misguided view of what he could do to do good in the world.
Did he? I don't know. I don't know. I think to him the ends justifies the means. But
Oh, I agree.
is the end like good for Republic City, or is the end in his mind, I rule Republic City? I think his end is that he is the leader of Republic City.
I agree, but I think he thinks that's good.
I don't know. I mean, I think he thinks it's good for him. I don't think he thinks it's. I don't think he thinks about other people's good.
No, I agree. Again, I think it's an ability issue.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
I don't think he knows how. I don't think he can.
No, I don't think he can either. I think
Which is kind of the point, right? I think that he's doing the best he can with the
he
tools, information, and
only,
knowledge he has.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And with the trauma that he has experienced, right? We see, like, not in this episode, but we see how abusive his upbringing and training was, right? So, of course, he's not thinking about the well being so much as others because all he's known is abuse and violence and manipulation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's not convinced.
No, 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 I am. I just, no,
Rahul,
I
how about
just,
you? Thoughts? Oh, no? Okay. So,
oh my
uh,
God.
by the end of the episode, I think, again, uh, this is kind of just reframing what we've kind of said, but it feels to me legacy is less about preserving the past, which is, I think, often what it's kind of interpreted as. is like, oh, we have to preserve this legacy that was handed down to us, and
Hmm.
it's the right. But it to me feels like this episode is suggesting that legacy is less about preserving that and more about using it to decide how to continue moving forward. And I wonder if we'd be in a better position if we tried less to recreate or live into a legacy versus using it as a place for discernment to move forward.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
my thought and my takeaway here.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
feel like that's, yeah, what we were saying, like right at the very beginning.
Why even have the conversation? Why did we even do it? If we were already there,
Well, we had to like go around and then get back there.
we had to introduce the concept and then prove the point, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had to have
Back it
people
up with
disagree
evidence.
with us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else? Any other moments of legacy that we want to focus on or touch on in this episode?
One of the thoughts that I had, it's not so much about legacy, but more of from the creators' uh, viewpoint is wondering if part of the reason we get these flashbacks and it's not through the eyes of Aang, and this is more of like a meta, like way zoomed out, is because they know that the viewers are so invested in the gang. And like, this is the first instance that we get to see the gang as adults, which is something that has been requested for basically since the show ended, wanting to know
Yeah.
like, and
What
that's why we're
happened?
what happened.
Mm.
And then also like that's why I think everyone is like really excited about our like what are we getting them in their 20s in this adult movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Before this.
before this, which is like we just wanted to see like what happens to the characters that we, grew up and loved with so much and have so much um empathy is not the right word. Like we're so invested in them as characters, right? So part of my like meta like zooming out is if we viewed the world through Aang of like how much of a disappointment that would be from a viewer standpoint because then we're not getting to see them interact with each other,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
which in a way I guess you could say is the legacy of Avatar the Last Airbender.
Oh, that's meta.
Love it.
Meta. Look at that, folks. Um, and that is why we have Patreon supporters as guests. That's right. That's it right there. That is the moment. Everything Kelly said, not it. But what that just came
Probably. That
out. Just
tracks.
kidding. Just kidding. Rahul, comments, thoughts?
Wow, Rahul's just
All right.
so quiet today.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to bring us into our musical interlude. We'll introduce that in post. And all right, time for Twee and Law. Uh, what brings us balance? The good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the other opposites.
Well, I always get pulled in just anytime getting to see, like I just said, the adult gang, like any interaction. I'm like, oh, that's just so beautiful. And I think part of why I struggled with Korra a little bit the first time I watched it is because everyone was like, oh, and you get to see, like we get some of those, like we get to see Katara as an adult and like we get to see, Toph later on. And then I watched it and I was like, ugh, like I watched it in the lens of like getting to see the next Avatar, but also really wanting to see the characters that I loved so much. And it wasn't until the second time going back and now understanding how little they're in it and then being
Yeah.
like, ah, yes, okay, this is fantastic. I really just like was like, oh, it felt lacking in the sense
Hmm.
again, we just feel like there's not enough of content with the original gang, but we are so excited for new Avatar and, other things like that, but also give us more.
Yeah. I mean, hearing Sokka's like speech, right? I've seen many weird benders in my time. And like even that was like harking back and giving like people a little Easter egg kind of a deal that felt I was like, "Oh, I know what he's talking about. That's so cool." Um, so I mean, even that was a nice little pull in. Also, we said it earlier, but just re-emphasizing like Lin in this episode is a
Mm,
beast.
yeah.
Great to watch. Um, Shooting through the ceiling on that cart, like just like doing
Yeah.
like so cool. Like what a cool
Yeah.
scene. Yeah. That whole like just the infiltration, getting in and out, the oh, such
Yeah.
fun.
I feel like that's what my pull in is in this episode. I feel like we finally see our protagonists like getting the one up on the equalists because I feel like the equalists have been kind of like coming in hard with, their use of
Yeah.
technology and their tactics, and it kind of, you know, like hit everyone on the blind side, right? But then now we see them like kind of getting the hang of it through like, yeah, that infiltration, the escape, and then Korra and, her arm wrap and the metal, I feel like I'm like, yeah, it's all right. I'm like, we're getting the hang of this. Like, we're not gonna let them, pull one over on us anymore. I feel like made
Yeah,
me
they
happy
they
to watch.
they definitely had like the element of surprise for the first half of the series, right? Where
Hmm.
there it was all new, right? It was very much like they hadn't done anything and they were finally making their moves, and every tactic they had was new and subverting expectations.
Yeah,
And I feel like they finally have a read on tactics, right? But also, this is the first time where they took the initiative and made the
true.
move rather than the equalists were like already having premeditated what was going to happen. Um, so yeah, I agree. That was great. Um, I am thinking about like the things that kind of took me out a little bit. And uh, I do think there's an element of I don't know how I feel about like the idea of it and this might be just me. I feel like they made bloodbending, even though it is an exceptional to this family, to this bloodline, maybe we just still don't even know that. I feel like it's still a little too powerful.
Pretty
Um,
OP.
it's like I think that Yukon being able to take out 30 people with Toph, Aang, two of the most competent benders in the history. I just feel like they made it a little too powerful, and I think catching them off guard maybe, but maybe you surprise and you take out 10 people and then you're able to run and escape through the rest of them. Like I just don't know that taking out the whole room. I don't know. I was like, this feels too much.
Especially because, and that was one of the things that I was thinking about as a push too, is that he does it with just his eye movement, right? That like
Yeah,
not
yeah,
he's not moving, right? Because we see so much of bending is the body movement in order to then
hmm
bend the element. And here
yeah.
he's doing like this really big, like, you know, yeah, exactly. And I think that part has always pushed me away because it's always made me uncomfortable because it's so creepy. Because and I know
Yeah.
that's the point, right? But again, like, there just seems to be so much power with that, and then still not understanding how is he able to, and we see it twice, like, he's able to overpower the avatar, and it's not until the avatar state kicks in that Aang is then able to overpower him. And then also the part where, like, if you've watched Stranger Things, like, it's so Stranger Things-esque where like Ben's getting, or Aang is getting contorted in the air, like, and like you just it's such a like
I was actually thinking about the contortions when I was like, why is this necessary? And I was thinking about how bending traditionally does require body, and I think like locking limbs in place and contorting it prevents bending, right? Because I have to imagine that there's a significant amount of resistance being put in by the body trying to resist this blood bending situation, and in which case, right, I think that locking the positions and contorting them in such a way prevents like the resistance almost. um that's my headcanon as to why that part feels quote necessary in terms of the visualizing, other than just to make it creepy. But it also could be that like Yukon is just a creepy dude. That could also be it, but I don't know.
He is creepy. Well, my push away is I kind of have a couple, but I'll go with this one. I feel like Bolin and Asami's conversation about Mako and Korra, like in the tunnels, I'm like, this is not one, not the time. Two, Bolin, just shut up because this is not your like stuff to be telling. Like, and you're such a bad liar. Like, just
Oh, I think he was being truthful.
no,
Oh,
no, that's what I'm
I don't think
saying.
it's a big deal.
But just the fact that he was like, well, like he's trying to like down, yeah, I don't know. He's just trying to be like, it's not a big deal, but not that it was a big deal, but I'm like, you're just messy. This is messy. And
Oh, I'll give you that.
like,
It's messy.
I don't like it. I feel like there's not the time, not the place. My other one is when Lin metal bends his fly shut. One, time period wise, I don't think we had zippers at this. I mean, I guess we do, but I'm just like, I don't think. Also, that feels non-consensual and I don't like it. You could just say, hey, your fly's down.
Yeah, there's also like we get the visual of him like putting things away, so to speak.
I don't
So,
like any of that. No.
and then here, yep. Bloop, bzz. Anyway, something to think about.
Or not.
You brought it up. Um, all right. Uh, that's our Twee and Law section, folks. Now we're going to move into our uh, intentional time where we think about how to implement what we've done and put it into practice in some way. And so our lens is Earth, and we are doing a little thing called build it up, because that's what Earth people do. Uh, so the goal here is we've been discussing legacy, right? And we want to think about what feels foundational, key to this build it up thing, whether it's foundational to us in forms of values, of habits, of boundaries that keep us in place, whatever that may be. And what foundational piece do you want to strengthen or live closer to, given our conversation today? So, what is something foundational to you that you want to bolster in order to help cultivate your own structure and your own integrity? Um, that is the question for today. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
That's a big one.
Big? What do you mean? You have so
It
many
was too
options.
early, too early in the day for this.
Y'all, this is an hour sooner. We have recording an hour sooner than we normally do.
Too
And
early.
Rahul, what do you think about
It's
that?
clearly too early.
I was gonna say it's actually more than an hour early because usually we start at like 11:45. So
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, Ben.
it's almost
It's
2 hours earlier. No wonder Rahul
my
is so
emotional
quiet.
state. Yeah, I can't.
Rahul, I still don't understand why we haven't heard from you yet. But okay,
You know
whatever.
what? Maybe he just doesn't realize his microphone is not connected.
Maybe that's it. Uh,
Technical
so
issues.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, uh, so in terms of this, I think one of the things I am thinking about is I have been having a couple conversations with some of my clients recently about mortality. They've had parents aging, they're having birthdays, dogs, passing away. Um, there's been a lot of conversations around that and thinking around like, how do we live into the life we want to be living into? Not fearful of death, but mindful of it. And not only that, but thinking about how often legacy, right, leads us into the same predicament. I don't want to live fearful of legacy. I want to live mindfully of it. And I want to know it's there. I want to know how it impacted whatever happened in the past. But I want to use that as a way to move forward, not move in fear from it happening again or from it not happening. And so, part of the legacy that I have is, you know, living into a family of seven children and having a, a parent that made some pretty shitty choices and thinking about like, okay, how do I want to live into the value of a aging parent that made some tough choices? Do I want to remember myself as having compassion and remember myself as being someone who's willing to move in when things get distant, or do I want to stay distant because that's protective? And I don't know that I have an answer to that in this moment, but it is something that's been on my mind. And so in terms of my own structure and integrity around that value and those boundaries and my habits, like I just want to be mindful of it and just kind of be like, okay, is this something I want to remain on autopilot as is, or do I want to confront that thought? And so that's where I am. That's what I'm thinking about. That's how I'm building it up this week, this month. Um, you're welcome. I'm feeding you the next. It's your turn.
It's freaking me out because you're speaking to something that I'm like directly experiencing right now. And I'm like, stop doing that. First of all, cut it out. But some of my family members are going through an ongoing mild crisis that is impacting me because I have become the sounding board for their crisis. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm struggling with boundaries and I'm struggling with, deciding the same thing. How will what will my part be in this? And how will we move forward? How will I look back on this? How is this affecting me? Because sometimes I feel like I'm being polluted by this
Mm,
ongoing crisis that is seeping into my world. But I'm trying to think what I want to strengthen because I don't know that I can become an impenetrable fortress. I just don't think it's gonna happen for me, but I want to I want to lean into the belief that I make my life
mm,
and I will know I have enough self-awareness and enough discernment, hopefully in my own life, to know when I need to protect myself versus when I can lend some of my bandwidth to those things. But
mm,
I don't know. I don't have the answers either. But I'm hoping that I can navigate it at least gracefully without diminishing what I've already worked to build
mm,
beyond
mm.
my family members and the legacy that they've built for themselves that I don't want
Oh,
a part of.
we're thinking about your legacy, Kelly. What is the legacy
Exactly.
you want to leave behind?
Yeah.
Mm. All right, Maggie, it's
Those
your
are
turn.
those are both so beautiful. Um, I think I think it's more of a the principle and boundary side
Mm.
of things. I'm trying to think if it is habitual or not, but thinking about how there have been, and again, it like stems, part of it is like to, parents that made choices that I didn't agree with and like ended up putting, my safety at risk. And then watching friendships that then also, directly put my safety at risk and then choosing to cut contact and remove them, from my day-to-day life. And then also like that, going no contact and continuing that kind of building up that wall if we're thinking about the earth side of things, right? And how there have been questions from others in my life of like, are you sure you want to do that? Or like, don't you regret that yet? And just kind of having that where essentially others are trying to um, dismantle this wall that I have put up because they don't
Mm-hmm.
have the full story and they don't fully understand. They're just looking at it from their perspective and what they
Yeah.
understand about a parent's role and what they understand about a friendship role and things like that. And wrestling more with like, why would you choose to be so adamant about, no, I'm not interested in rebuilding that relationship. No, I don't want contact with this person. And it's not my responsibility to share all of the awful details that happened. Like,
Mm.
and continuing to be like, enough has happened and that my safety was in direct like jeopardy, that just that like respect of it's not some petty argument, right? Like
Mm.
this wall is here and it's intentional and you don't have to like it and you don't have to understand it.
Mm.
But especially you need to stop asking about it. If it's something where I put up that boundary of no, I'm not interested in reaching out to them, or no, I'm not interested in, because everyone's like, oh, like, don't you want to like reconcile and things like that, or like reach out and try to rebuild? And the answer is just no, I don't want
Yeah.
to. And that wall is there. And I just want to actually continue to build that wall higher. And then every time I try to enforce that wall, others are trying to take it down at the same time because, again, they
Mm.
don't have the full picture. And that frustrates me. So then just having that integrity and fortitude to go, like, stand my ground and go, no, I will
Mm.
not be swayed.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's this complex like difference, right? Where it sounds like some of us are entertaining like, do I keep this wall up? Some of us are saying absolutely not. This is going to stay up no matter what. And then we have the whole gambit, right? So
Yeah.
um there is no right answer. It just depends on the context and what's going on, and everybody has their own context. And listeners, all two of you, I'm excited that you also do that. Rahul, has your mic started working yet? Uh, no, it doesn't look like it. Okay. All right, let's move to gratitude. Um, who are we grateful for from the episode?
Go ahead, Kelly. Just say it.
So, I'm
I
thankful for
think
Naga.
No, no,
listen,
she's
Naga does do some good work in this
yeah.
episode, but no, I'm definitely gonna pick Lynn. Obviously, she's like, I'm hurt. Cora's missing? Just kidding. I'm a superhero. Did you know? Goes to
She's
town.
so badass.
She's like, Pain? I don't know her.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
And also, yeah, anyways, I'm just grateful for her because I feel like she's action oriented in this episode. She's like, I'm gonna get it done. I don't care what anyone says. Help me or not. If we're gonna break out the friends, we're going.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think, yeah, that's admirable to just be like, we're doing it. Consequences be damned.
Mm. Here.
And she takes off her shoe to sense the ground. I love that part.
Yeah.
Retracts her shoe, I should say.
Totally. I am also grateful for Lynn, just to echo that. But I am going to say Aang. So there's a lot to be thankful for here around Aang's gift to Korra and imparting to. But it could be very easy for Aang to be like, "Hey, Tarlok is a bloodbender," and just say that, assuming he could. And he doesn't. He gives context to help demonstrate to Korra that the long arc matters. And I think by giving it to her this way, I think she's getting more. And so um, I am grateful for the way he is reaching out. And I think it takes a lot of wisdom and insight that he's probably getting also from his past lives as well, and as he is working with her. But that's who I'm grateful for. Rahul? All right, cool. Well, Maggie, maybe you then.
Yeah, since we're still having technical difficulties over here, I'm thankful for the scribe slash administrative assistant that I don't
Mm,
really get named, and how they're an integral part of us. Well, not us because we already know, but how like the council and um, basically like without them we wouldn't like the group would know for sure that Tarlok can bloodbend, right? Like that is a because I don't think he's gonna reveal that, right? So he feels forced in a corner and then does his bloodbending. But like without that piece of information and that second set of eyes, we wouldn't know.
yeah. In the transcript, they are only named as Council Page.
Mm. Yes.
So I don't think they get a name either.
Grateful for that person. Great job.
Yeah.
Well, we have accomplished, despite technical difficulties on Rahul's part, we have accomplished another episode. We have recorded. It's going to be great. We're going to be thankful for everybody who's listening. B&B underscore pod may become more relevant soon in the future. Not necessarily on social media, but on Patreon. But wishing you all well. And until next time, be well. Do good.
Happy.